everybody, and welcome to Garden Style. So it's a beautiful day today. It's kind of partly cloudy and it's a little windy, so if it gets a little breezy during this recording, I apologize ahead of time if it's doing something to the volume. Well, today I thought it would be a good idea to go over some new specimens, some specimens that I have chosen myself to plant here in my own yard. And just wanted to get this ball rolling as I've got so many new things I want to introduce to you guys. So I'll get started. First of all, I am getting ready to plant some more shrubs. This particular one happens to be a variegated boxwood. So in case you didn't know, they actually come with variegated leaves. They do. They're not always a dark green. And boxwoods I find to be extremely hardy. They're pretty slow growing. They are evergreen. They'll hang on to their leaves. This particular variety will get about 3 to 6 feet high if you let it. You can always give it a trim and keep it short. And they're hardy to about minus 10 degrees, so that's pretty cool. They make a great screening plant. What I intend to do with this particular variety is I'm going to put it in containers as I'm slowly but surely moving into putting evergreens into a lot of my containers so I can enjoy them during the fall and winter as well as the spring and summer. So what I'm going to do with these guys is I'm going to put them in some tall containers, and I'll have some trailers circling them that will actually flow out over the edge of the containers. That way I have color during the spring and the summer and evergreen leaves to look at the entire year. And I'm doing that more and more. The busier my life gets, the less time I have to constantly be changing out containers. It's also lower maintenance, and I can leave them in the containers probably for about 3 or 4 years if it's a pretty good sized one. And then I just circle it with annuals or perennials during the spring and summer. So for today, I'm going to introduce you to these new varieties, and then in my next video I'll show you what I did with them as far as where I'm placing them. But English boxwood, I'm going to look here on the tag because I know a lot of you like to know about the zones that they are good in. And this one is hardy from zones 5 to 9, which means its average minimum temperature that it can withstand during the wintertime is about minus 20 degrees. And that's pretty darn hardy for a shrub. So it can be used just about in any part of the country, except if it gets, below minus 20, of course. Just about everything gets zapped at that point. But yes, very hardy shrub, and I just like it because it's different from the dark green and it'll stand out when I put it in the containers. So there's one. Another one of my favorite all-time shrubs is this guy. Now this is also a variegated shrub. However, it's semi-deciduous. And what they mean by that is it will stay evergreen during the winter if your winters are semi-mild. If not, they may drop a few leaves. But either way, it's a gorgeous shrub. This is called Abelia, and this particular variety is Abelia obutilan. And the neat thing about this shrub is during the fall, all these leaves kind of take on a reddish bronzy color. So it just looks like a completely different shrub when it gets colder out, and that's what the leaves sense, and they'll start turning colors. It also gets blooms on it. It'll get these beautiful little panicle type blooms all over it. It hasn't started blooming yet, but I assume once I get them in the ground, I have 2 or 3 of these that I'm going to put in the landscape, they will also get blooms during the summertime. Now, they get this extra growth, as you can see here, but as soon as it starts blooming, I leave it alone, and then once it's done, you can always round it or shape it to any shape that you want. They're very well behaved shrubs, and I just like them because you get 2 or 3 seasons of interest out of them. They're just beautiful. And I don't know if you can see the tag here, right here, but you can see how reddish orange it will get during the fall. It's awesome. And if your winters stay pretty mild, it'll hang on to its leaves throughout the wintertime to keep that winter interest. Now the zones that this is good in, it's good down to zone 6, which means minus 10 degrees. It'll do quite well. The blooms on this are actually a white bloom, and this is called Abelia kaleidoscope, and it totally fits its name, especially in the fall time, as all these leaves start to get a kaleidoscope type of color to them in reds and oranges. Now I have had quite a few of you folks asking me about deer resistance. Deer may eat these, and it may eat boxwoods. In fact, deer will eat just about anything if they're hungry enough. So the best thing I can advise to those folks who are having a real issue with deer is getting a deer repellent. And what we sell at the nursery is called Deer Stop. It actually has a big stop sign on the front of the can, and we use a deer tape as well as a deer spray. And those of you who have more questions about that, or who want to know if it's available or not, you can easily purchase it online. But we have used it ourselves at the nursery, as we have had issues with deer in our fruit trees during the summer and also the fall. And it seems for us that's when the deer are the most active, or in the early spring and the late fall, especially late fall, as they get pushed down from the mountains when it gets colder, and they're looking for goodies to eat, and there's usually lots to be had in gardens like ourselves, those of us who are planting all these fabulous shrubs for them to eat. So you can say deer resistance only because they might walk by it and not eat it, but all in all, if they're really hungry, they'll eat anything. Honestly, they will. So the best thing you can do is put a deer repellent on them, and you may have to refresh it after it rains, but that's the best answer I can give you guys. I get this question almost on a daily basis at the nursery as to what you can do to resist deer, and that's why we sell deer repellents, and we have 2 different varieties. But my favorite is Deer Stop, as I have found that it is extremely effective, and it was very effective for keeping them out of our fruit trees. Okay, so moving on. This isn't exactly a new variety, but I was thrilled with the colors. And this is called Osteo Sperma. This is an annual where I live, and it is hardy to 20 degrees. So they can take a slight light frost, but not a whole lot. So we treat them as annuals up here in Washington State, but if you live in California or in some of the southern states, you could probably grow this year-round. Now, osteospermums have been hybridized to the max, and it seems like almost every single year they're coming out with new colors. And this particular color is called Serenity Rose Magic, and I just was enamored with the color. It's kind of unusual. It's not quite a salmon, it's not quite a pink, it's somewhere right in between, kind of a rose pink. But I thought it was beautiful, and I'll be putting this in containers and combining it with several other annuals. But I just wanted to introduce you to the color on that one, as I thought it was amazing. And then we have this little guy. Now this is a tough one to pronounce. This is called Argyranthemum. Argyranthemum. The ranthemum part of the name kind of gives you a clue that it's part of the chrysanthemum family, and it is. And these are bred as annuals, again, here in our part of the country anyway, but they have these beautiful colors, and they come up with these daisy type flowers, and these just actually happen to have a little pom-pom in the middle of them, so it just kind of helps them to stand out. And honestly, it reminds me of an echinacea flower that has those cute little pom-poms in the middles of them. But these are considered an annual, and the thing I like about them the most is, number one, they get some height to them, so these could easily become a thriller inside of a smaller container, and of course put your fillers in around the outside with your spillers going over the edges. But I just like these colors, and they're available in like 20 different colors. You can get them in deep purples, white, light pink, lavenders. It's incredible. Yellow, of course, white. So it's pretty incredible, all the different colors they come out with. But I just wanted to introduce this to you, and look for it in your nurseries, as just about everybody carries it, at least in 5 or 6 different colors to choose from, if I can spit that out. So anyway, Argyranthemum is the name of that, and this particular variety is a crested hot pink. It definitely fits that description. And just about all the plants that I've introduced to you so far do take full sun. These are all full sun lovers, as those are the containers I'm focusing on right now. So here's a new one for you. I like this one because of its texture, obviously, and it comes in this bright lime green. And this is kind of a new introduction that the growers have come out with just recently to use as fillers in your annual pots and containers as you're planting them throughout the season. So they have a common name for it. It's called lavender cotton. This is Santolina Lemon Fizz is the name of this, and it actually has this fabulous smell to it as well. And most people put it in their containers for the texture more than anything else. I really like the feathery texture on this one, but it also has a scent to it. And it's just the chartreuse color is the big deal. It has flowers on it, kind of insignificant bright yellow flowers that come on it. I say insignificant. Some people don't call it that, but I do. I don't really purchase it for the flowers. I purchase it for the texture more than anything, but it will flower. It'll get flowers on it. And according to this tag, it doesn't need a whole lot of water. It is actually very drought tolerant. This is the first time I've tried it. Some people put it in the ground as a low ground cover. I myself am going to use it in containers. I'm still questioning the hardiness on this. What does it say here on the tag? Yeah, see, it's only hardy in zone 7, so it can withstand temperatures to about 0 degrees. It may or may not make it, I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but it's something new that I'm trying this year. And I figured, well, I'll put it in containers, and if I really like it, and I find it makes it throughout the winter, then I may introduce it into the garden. But most of all, it was the texture that I went after, and it's just different. Just something different to use in containers this year. Okay, so another variety that I'm sure most of you are very familiar with, and that is Calibrachoas. But I had to introduce this new color to you. This is called Rising Star, and it is incredible. It has these beautiful fuchsia flowers with the white stars that run through the middle of them and a yellow throat. And of course, what can I say about Calibrachoa except they're about the cousin to petunias. They bloom all summer long. It's a self-cleaning plant, so once it's done blooming, it just drops its flowers, no big deal, and makes new ones. So I find them to be extremely low maintenance, and they're just fabulous as an extra trailer inside of the container. I don't know if you guys can hear the rooster in the background, but he always has to chime in when I'm doing my videos. But anyway, this is Calibrachoa. It is treated as an annual, and it makes a fabulous container plant. So just wanted to introduce that new color to you. Oh, you probably want to know a name. You try to remember all these things as you go along. Doesn't necessarily have a name, but it is called Calibrachoa Superbells. So you can start looking for these in your nurseries, as they're not only available in the hot pink and white, but I've seen them in purple and white, and I'll flash a quick picture of that as I have a hanging basket of them sitting on my back deck that I absolutely love. So I'll flash a picture of that towards the end of my video so you can see what that looks like. But get out there and look for Calibrachoas, as they're becoming extremely popular now for containers in the garden. You can use them at the front of the bed if you want to. They're great trailers and great mounders as well. And I just find that somewhere in July or August I may just trim the edges off, and that just encourages more blooms, and they will bloom right up until the first frost. So just wanted to introduce that one to you. Alright, and then last but not least, this is another fabulous variety. This is called Euphorbia Glitz is its name, and I love it for its just light, lacy type flowers that cover this plant all summer long. And these are just amazing for adding softness to containers. So if you have something like an Osteo Sperma, I mean, you can put this in on the ends. You can use it as a trailer, as it will actually start to flow out and trail over the edges of your pots. I just find it to be extremely versatile, and it's just a real lacy type of plant that adds a whole nother texture to your containers. And of course it's in white, so you know, it goes with anything. It's just great. So the name of this one, Euphorbia Glitz, it's actually a milkweed spurge. What a horrible name for a plant, milkweed. Spurge is even worse, I think. So I like Euphorbia Glitz, that's even better. And these guys will get about 10 to 14 inches tall. They bloom from spring until the first frost. And I'm just trying to see if there's any type of a hardiness on here. There isn't. We just treat them as annuals. So anyway, there you go. Some new specimens to introduce you to. It was really hard for me at the nursery to decide what I wanted to put in containers this year. It's just tough. There's so many fabulous varieties out there. So just use your imagination and try to think outside of the box. For me, I'm always trying to plant something completely opposite of what I planted from the year before, just because I like to experiment and try out new things. All right, you guys, so here we go. Start introducing you to some new specimens to get planted in both your containers as well as your yard. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, there's a description box down below that you can leave me a message in, or you can get a hold of me at gardenstylenw.com. or my email at gardenstylenwest@gmail.com. I also encourage you to go to our Sunnycrest website at sunnycrestnursery.com, as I'm constantly posting what we're doing there, what the new things are that are coming in, new sales, that sort of thing, and feel free to sign up for our email if you want to, as you can stay in touch as to what we're doing here in Gig Harbor, Washington, which is where I live. The nursery itself is actually located in Lake Bay, but not far from Gig Harbor. All right, you guys, I hope you're having a fabulous spring. The weather here has been amazing. We have been extremely busy for Mother's Day, needless to say. We're getting truckloads of flowers and hanging baskets, and it's just exciting, just really exciting this year to see all the new things that are starting to come in. Now, in my next video, as well as introducing new specimens to you, I will probably be doing this from the nursery so that you can get a tour of what the nursery looks like at its peak time of the year, and I can't wait. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but the following day I will start taking a tour of the nursery and just show you all the cool stuff that we're starting to get in. All right, you guys, have a great spring, happy planting, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now.